Hello and welcome to BQ Prime. You're joining us on this special broadcast where we're discussing the arrest of Chanda Kochhar and her husband Deepak Kochhar by the Central Bureau of Investigation in relation to a loan that was passed to Videocon Industries Limited as well as some of its associates. Now, this case per se is many years old. The original allegations for this case had come up back in 2016. It got at that point in time sort of dusted away. By 2018, there was a newspaper investigation into the matter, after which there was a prolonged investigation. Chanda Kochhar was asked to step down from her position as MD and CEO of ICICI Bank. The allegations at that point in time were those of quid pro quo, because in favor of loans were passed in favor of Videocon Industries and its associates, and it was alleged that Chanda Kochhar's husband Deepak Kochhar got some kind of monetary benefits from Venugopal Dhoot in relation to this loan account. Now, this background included, there is of course an important question that needs to be asked. A very powerful, a very well-known, a popular face amongst the Indian banking industry, Chanda Kochhar, has now been arrested by the Central Bureau of Investigation. Of course, she stopped serving as the bank's head back in 2018. However, this still is likely to have an impact on the broader banking system in India, which is already just about recovering from its years of bad loan stress, as well as other investigations that continued within the system. To discuss this further and to understand some of the nitty-gritties of the situation, we have with us Mr. Tamal Bandyopadhyay. Of course, he's a senior editor, currently at Business Standard, and he's also been covering the banking industry for longer than I've been alive. There's also Mr. Bishwajit Bhattacharyya, who's here to give us a little bit about the legal side of this story. Welcome, firstly, gentlemen, to this conversation. Thank you for taking your time out. Let me start firstly with Tamalda. The question that I wanted to ask you is, we've already seen these things play out. Of course, back then there were bankers of lower sort of official positions who were arrested by the CBI as well as the enforcement director in similar cases. But with Chanda Kochhar's arrest, what do you think changes for the entire system?
No, I don't think anything changes because this is not unusual. A banker being arrested. I mean, public sector bankers have faced. You speak about Sudhir Jain of Syndicate Bank, Archana Bhargav of UBI, United Bank of India, in Kolkata. That's in recent past. Then also we found many from IDBI Bank have been arrested and sent to, typically in a very dramatic way, you are under arrest and they're sent to Arthur jail. So nothing changes. And why would not it change? I would say that it's sort of, there have been cases where bankers were under arrest and the investigative agency could not do much about it because those cases are slightly different between a commercial decision going wrong and there was a malified intention. But here it's a triangular case. Chanda Kochhar, her husband, and Videocon. So it's a slightly different case than the part. Now in each case the modus operandi is very different. And here, but the surprising factor is this: it took so long because 2018 CBI came in the picture. 2019 early the FIR was filed by CBI. In between, there was a ED money laundering allegation by enforcement director. That's a separate issue altogether. And in the recent past, I have come across one media report which talked about what is SEBI doing, because SEBI was also investigating the role of the board, and Chanda Kochhar, SEBI has been keeping quiet for the last so many years. So the surprise part is this: why this sudden activities? Where people are under the impression that this is a sort of done and dusted case, but suddenly this has happened. So that curiosity, what was the provocation, what is the trigger? Because there is no new allegation. It's the same. This is the same FIR, 2019 FIR. So why it took almost 3 years? Not 3 years, more than that actually. Almost close to 4 years. Yeah. Why did it take so long? Otherwise, I don't think there is any addition to fear, psychosis, etc. Because, as I said, the only surprise part is this: is the suddenly out of nowhere this arrest when people are thinking that this case is done and dusted.
Right. Mr. Bhattacharya, let me ask you this question as well. So there is precedence of the CBI sort of moving slow in certain cases, specifically bank loan frauds. It takes years before a case is even filed, and even after that, it takes a long period of time to conduct an investigation and then make the arrest. Uh, Despite that, this 6-year long sort of conversation, originally started in 2016 with the allegations. Let's say even if the CBI walked in 2018 and started looking into the matter, it's still been 4 years, and then now finally you're arresting somebody who has already been removed from their position. What does it say about the investigative process?
You are saying 4 years because it all started with some anonymous whistleblower 2016, the transaction of 2012. In 2022 end, somebody is being arrested. Itself should raise a question that what was happening between 2012 and 2022.
Absolutely.
Number one. You see, arrest itself, by itself, is something which is a means to an end. The end should be conviction. Now, if there has been a transaction which raises question that ICICI Bank lent funds to Videocon, and contemporaneously, after a few days, then Videocon lends money to a company which is linked with the husband of the ICICI Bank chairman. Now, these two transactions are being sought to be linked. Very justifiably, in fact, that probe can go on. But does it take 11 years after the transaction? What were the other investigating agencies doing? I just don't understand. This is unacceptable. The delay is unacceptable. I'm not on criminal prosecution of a public sector bank or a private sector bank. What I'm questioning here very seriously is the delay and the arrest. And all these are financial transactions. Money trail can be ferreted out in matter of days. Like you appoint any banker and he will just go to the bottom of it. To keep these transactions on lingering and lingering. Now what happens? What happens after 10 years? It may result either in a conviction or in an acquittal. Does it make any sense? So it's time, not only the accountability of the NPA. Now, the fundamental question is that ICICI Bank loan has become a non-performing asset. So that's the whole genesis of the problem. Had there not been any NPA, I don't think there would have been any case. So accountability has to be fixed for NPA, and that is not necessarily a criminal liability. If any criminal prosecution is launched considering the intention and mens rea, let it be. But let there be a trial. This, pre-trial incarceration, which our jurisprudence is experiencing, this arrest jurisprudence and remand jurisprudence, it is time some accountability is fixed on Central Bureau of Investigation. Central Bureau of Investigation has no business to sleep over a matter for years and years, wake up one day and arrest, and then at the end of the day, it may result in acquittal or conviction. We don't know. So it's high time the jurisprudence of the country and even courts should take cognizance of it. Even there is a remand, the courts automatically extends the remand in perpetuity. I'm not against any corrupt deal. This deal may well be corrupt. I don't know. Only time will tell. But the question is the process. The process is worse than the conviction. My submission before your channel is that this process which one has to undergo and what kind of message it is sending, that we have done this, we have arrested X, we have arrested Y. How many persons have you convicted? How many persons have you convicted? Suddenly you are appointing chairman of X bank, Y bank, Z bank. Where is the progress report? So I feel there should be an accountability on the part of the Central Bureau of Investigation, which cannot be allowed to function as an unruly horse. That's all I mean. As far as this transaction is concerned, prima facie, There is a case for investigation.
Absolutely, yeah.
There is not even an iota of doubt. It may be so. Therefore, linking the two. Giving a loan to Videocon and contemporaneously within the shortest possible time, Videocon also investing in a company which has link with the husband of the chairman. This raises a bona fide doubt. But this doubt cannot remain pending and you suddenly arrest someone. So that's my submission. The banking industry is the largest national instrument for country's socio-economic development. If you see the balance sheet of asset and liability of the banking sector, it is equal to India's GDP.
Yeah.
It is equal to almost 300 trillion, rupees, almost. So therefore, under these circumstances, CBI, Central Bureau of Investigation, must have accountability and must be more efficient and must prosecute. Their intention should not be to arrest, to prosecute. Now you suddenly send a notice on 15th of December. They say you have to come within 4 days. 19th December, they will come after 4 days. 19th December, they don't come. Section 41 notice is issued and on 23rd you arrest. Why? What are you going to? Are you going to get any evidence by having the person concerned in your custody? Do you expect the person concerned to make a self-incriminating statement? CBI has to prove its case by its own clinical investigation. And by coercion, custody means coercion. You can't expect under coercion any person. I'm not talking about this. No person will say, yes, I'm guilty. You just hang me. You expect anyone to make a self-incriminating statement, whether
but we have seen courts give that time, as soon as an investigative agency asks.
So the courts will also have to change.
Yeah.
Courts will have to also take a very, very view about this remand jurisprudence. Now, what is ailing our judicial system is that there is virtually no remedy against arrest jurisprudence and remand jurisprudence, and nobody is seriously interested in fixing the corrupt.
Yeah.
In fixing the corrupt, you fix the corrupt, hold them to some kind of a responsibility and accountability. Prosecute them at the earliest possible time. You convict them, send them to jail, sentence them.
Yeah. Tamal, I want to come to you now. So obviously, this is a product, as Mr. Bhattacharya also pointed out, that this case is from 2012 and 13. That's when the original loan was extended by the bank to Videocon. We know, and you've written about it extensively, and we've all read so many stories about these kind of deals happening in that decade. Multiple, bankers having some kind of a shady sort of transaction with promoters and thereby getting things done. Has the system evolved since then? And what do you think the situation today is? That are bankers far cleaner? Is the system cleaner?
Yeah, I think there's a fear psychosis gripped the banking industry. It happened when quite a few senior bankers who after retirement. So typically, what has been happening, it's after retirement. Suddenly one fine morning you find that you are under arrest and you are sent to Arthur Road jail, and the kind of you have been bundled with other harder criminals and sleeping on the floor. You can't even move sideways. That's the kind of space.
Absolutely.
So that had happened, and then of course the lookout notices, etc. But if you see historically, there are very few cases where our investigative agencies actually could fix the culpability. I can think of one when M. Gopalakrishnan of Indian Bank in the 90s, what he did, certain loans, etc. And he was sent to jail. Beyond arrest, he was actually had a jail term. So since then, I don't want to name, there are multiple cases in the past few years, particularly I would say last 4-5 years, the very aggressive investigative agencies. But that beyond arrest and questioning, actually people's culpability being established and they are sent to jail. There have been rare cases.
Yeah.
So that's I agree with Mr. Bhattacharya. That's the case. 2012 it happened, but it came to light through a whistleblower in 2016. Again, and then what happened? Unfortunately, this is the board was solidly backing the MD and
Yeah,
C.
that's right.
This is one of the cases. Till in fact, there was a Cyril Amarchand Mangaldas CAM report. It gave a clean sheet. Reserve Bank of India came in. But RBI also gave it a clean sheet. RBI investigation found certain transaction, but it was overseas. Now, what had stopped the country's central bank to track this overseas transaction?
Yeah.
I don't have any answer. So till the time, yet another whistleblower came in 2018. It was all hunky-dory and everything was fine. And then we found that Sri Krishna committee was appointed and found the fault, and this lady Kochhar was sacked, and she did move the Bombay High Court, where it's been against the sacking. Her case was that I have voluntarily resigned. Why are you sacking? Why have you triggered the clawback clauses, blocking, taking away my bonus and ESOPs, etc. But ICICI Bank won the case. So here is a classic case where board was actually, it's a pretty incompetent, inefficient board. I think this is a charitable way of looking at it. That's on the case. And finally, there is no escape for these alleged activities, and she has been fixed. Now, how the bankers learn the lessons? I think bankers have learned their lessons. And the question is whether the investigative agency is overdoing, and the fear psychosis, whether it is creating a problem in the industry, etc. Till recently, that has been the thinking. But if you look at the credit offtake in the current financial year, it's a decadal high. So, which means the fear psychosis which had gripped the industry, that they are coming out. They are now. Earlier, what was happening? There was credit demand, but bankers were very circumspect.
Yeah.
But now they are. I think the fact is the credit growth shows that bankers are coming out of this fear psychosis.
Correct.
Will this new her arrest again
dampen it? Yeah.
Again change the scenario and trigger psychosis will come back?
Yeah.
I would not like to. I don't think that's the case because, as I said, I think the surprise is why suddenly this has happened when SEBI is not doing anything. This is a media report, which I'm quoting the media report. And suddenly after 2019 FIR filed by CBI and 2022 December, basis on the same FIR, what the new evidences come? That's the surprise part. But will it shake the industry once again? Will the bankers will get into a cocoon and refuse to lend, etc.? I would not like to believe that way.
My question is also to try and understand if this is so. Yes, there is an element of bankers and their own psychology playing into this, right? But has the broader system, the Reserve Bank of India's monitoring of private sector bank chiefs, the investigation, the boards of various private banks, having some amount of control, because in the ICICI Bank case, it was evident that the CEO controlled the board and not the other way around. Do private bank boards today have the wherewithal to put the right amount of checks on their executives so that this situation doesn't arise again?
You're asking me?
This is to Tamal. Yeah.
Okay. No, I think RBI is more vigilant now. It's in fact bankers in private talk about micromanagement. In the recent past, in a conversation with me, RBI governor, I asked him about this micromanagement which the bankers are alleging in private. He says, no, it's a very intense supervision. That's what RBI is doing. So RBI is keeping a close watch. In fact, you and me, it's not in public domain. We do not know. We only get to know when RBI appoints a director. But I'm sure there are a few more banks where RBI is keeping a very close watch. Probably we'll see it. We may end up seeing yet another bank seeing an RBI director coming in. So RBI has been pretty, I think, I would say, pretty aggressive. Not as aggressive as the investigative agencies, but RBI RBI has been doing it. I'll just quick 1 or 2 points I would like to mention is this.
Sure.
One is this, Section 10B of Banking Regulation Act. It talks about the governance of MD very, very clearly. And Section 10B4, it talks about substantial interest, which is this case, where you are lending money where substantial interest is. But it's pretty vague. I mean, it doesn't talk about the money part. It talks about how much 10% holding in a particular company, etc. And then also that relative, who is a relation, etc. Who is a relative? If you see the New Companies Act 2013, it talks about relatives. Who are the relatives? Father, mother, son, son's wife, daughter, daughter's husband, brother, sister. But it's not talks about your own husband and husband's brother, so on and so forth. Yeah. So it's a very tricky situation and all. And but finally, under Section 46 of Banking Regulation Act, it talks about that if a CEO is caught giving a false statement or a submission of facts, etc., which in this case allegations are there, is the punishment is up to 3 years and penalty is 1 crore. Okay, and this Section 10B of Banking Regulation Act, which talks about governance, which also holds the board responsible. But at the end of it, it also clearly says that in private sector banks, I repeat, in private sector bank, the buck stops at the MD. So if there is no escape for the person concerned in this case, if indeed the investigative agencies able to prove her role. Now the question is, it's very complicated. What is substantial interest? What is the relation? And how do you, because the history of Indian investigative agencies fixing a banker's culpability, be it private bank or public sector bank, is pretty poor. And often it ends up in witch hunt. Now, is this a similar case? Is this case going the same way? Or, as I said, there's one case I can think of, Gopalakrishnan to be sent behind the bar. But otherwise, it's a very, very poor track record by investigative agencies.
Mr. Bhattacharya, let me come to you on this part, right? So, Tamal did mention that there is an issue with the way these regulators have been handling it. SEBI is not really acting on it, despite it being very much in SEBI's remit, the interaction between the CEO and the board of a company, in this case, a bank. When you have a system that has not really been that alert to this situation, is it fair then to expect that the investigative agencies should be completely on top of this and should wrap up the investigation quickly? Because the first sort of guard dogs in this situation have not really reacted. How do you expect the CBI to be? I have no sympathy for any investigative agency, but the question here is it fair to expect the CBI to be so
Mr.
prompt?
Vishwanath, I understand your concern. See, CBI may be an extremely stressed organization, so therefore they may not be having enough time to investigate. Now, the question is, these are hard financial transactions. Money trail, you just have to see the money trail. Once you establish the money trail, nothing remains there. Then you frame charges. And put the person to trial. Why arrest? My only submission before this distinguished channel is that why arrest? You are not going to achieve anything merely by arresting a person, except to send
a message,
shockwave and a fear psychosis. And Mr. Tamal, you have mentioned the name of Mr. M. Gopalakrishnan twice about his being sent to jail. If I am not mistaken, in fact, I had handled this case in the CBI court in Chennai, maybe some 20 years back or 15 years back. I was for one of the accused persons, prime accused, was a stockbroker. I won't name him, it's not correct to name. And I think, as far as my memory serves, I may be wrong, it ended in an acquittal. it ended in an... So that arrest may have been... So this fact of Mr. Gopalakrishnan arrest, and maybe there were more than one cases also. That is also a possibility. Apart from that, so many bank chairmen have been arrested. You have SBI, you have IDBI Bank, now it's ICICI Bank, Syndicate Bank, Canara Bank, and he said so many other banks. How many persons have been convicted? In fact, in security scam Harshad Mehta's case, I happened to defend Mr. J.D. Lal Khemani, who was the Deputy Managing Director of State Bank of India. He was handcuffed. And in those days, there was only national television channel. They found nothing against him. Writ petition was filed. They stopped his pension. I was his lawyer. His pension was released. So this game of CBI arresting the bank executive, this is nothing new. This has been going on.
Yeah.
Time has come to stop it. Because I sincerely believe CBI is an inefficient organization as far as these financial transactions are concerned. Why I say inefficient? A matter which an expert can investigate within a matter of weeks, they take decades. This is an unacceptable level when economic reform is being worked out. I am not questioning the bona fides of CBI. I am only questioning their competence to get into the bottom of the financial transaction. Similar is the case with other organizations. What India is now suffering is from competence bankruptcy. You have to be competent enough. Now, if ICICI Bank has done something wrong, they should be fixed. And fixed immediately, put to trial. But after 10 years, you are saying we have arrested someone. Why? Why after 10 years of the transaction? And as Mr. Tamal pointed out, FIR was filed in 2019. 2018, the matter was brought to light. How long will it go? And now when the matter goes to court, only God alone knows whether the magistrate will extend the remand. And this investigation is going on. And one very pet sentence by the investigating agencies is, investigation is at a very preliminary stage. So there itself, the whole year, again go back. Again, investigation is at an advanced stage. Then also, then you don't get it. So these investigating agencies, they create a situation. They would love to have somebody in their custody. I don't know why. Why this playing around with your fundamental right, and if I may say so, human rights also. If you find any evidence, fix him. That's all I'm saying. In fact, every corrupt should be punished and every innocent must be set at right. But considering the track record, and I have done lots of these cases, rights. You see, I am myself a banker turned lawyer.
Yeah.
Legal profession is my sixth innings. I have worked in 3 banks. So therefore, I know very well that ultimately, what is going to come out of it, nobody knows. And if at all something comes out, how many decades it will take. I think just because today somebody is a high-profile bank chairman, that's why you're also coming on TV channel.
Yes, of course.
Since it is a very big bank and a very high-profile person, but if it is some smaller bank, small persons, nobody will bother. But I'm glad at least through this case, something should be highlighted. Some accountability has to be fixed on Central Bureau of Investigation to Enforcement Directorate also. Do you know the track record of Enforcement Directorate? 23 convictions out of 5422 cases officially stated in the Parliament the other day. So the conviction rate is 0.4%. Then why have this organization? Wind them up. And in fact, police can do a job. Central Bureau of Investigations is today surviving because of a stay order granted by Assam High Court. Entire Delhi Special Police Establishment Act of 1946 has been held to be ultra vires. The Supreme Court has given a stay in November 2013. So that is why with that oxygen, Central Bureau of Investigation is continuing. Because Central Bureau of Investigation has police power under Section 2 and Section 3 of the Delhi Special Police Establishment Act. Police is a state subject. Police is a state subject. So therefore, giving police powers to CBI is also a matter of constitutional issue.
Okay. Let me come back now and to try and wrap this conversation up, because we've already overshot the 30-minute time that we had planned. But just to wrap this thing up now, Mr. Bhattacharya as well as Tamal, both of you have mentioned the state of conviction or culpability, and that has not really been very encouraging as far as financial crimes that have been committed at least within the banking system. Last thoughts on this matter from both of you. First, Tamal, then Mr. Bhattacharya. What do you think needs to be done specifically to address that culpability part? Is it fast action? Is it more alertness from regulatory bodies so that investigations start sooner? Or is it the CBI saying that we can't do this, let some other agency, special agency, look at this case? What do you think, to your mind, what can be done?
I'm not exactly qualified to actually pass a judgment on this, but yes, I would like to believe that we need to, the investigative agencies like CBI and ED. Yes, I think when it comes to financial issues, they are not probably as well equipped as they should be. In this particular case, you see, typically we hear that the court takes so long, but here the Bombay High Court dismissed her case so fast. Yeah. But it's pretty. It's within a few months the court case got over. But that investigative agency is taking so long. So definitely, I think the investigative agencies which are getting into, when they are getting into the financial sector, financial crimes, quote unquote, they need to equip themselves pretty well. That's point number one. Point number two is the regulator needs to be more vigilant. I'm talking about banking regulator as well as the market regulators. In this case, I understand that SEBI has not yet closed the case investigation. But Reserve Bank of India, as I said, it's now intensified its investigation, which bankers in private call micromanagement. So I think RBI is pretty aggressive. If not as aggressive, certainly not as aggressive as the investigative agencies, because it does need to take care of financial sector stability, but it is pretty aggressive. And other part is, of course, the banks' boards. Even though in private banks, ultimately the buck stops under the Banking Regulation Act with the MD, but I think the banks' board are also responsible. In this case, you had a credit committee which were giving all the sanctioning those loans, and part of the credit committee is the committee of the board. Now, who was heading the credit committee? The MD herself. And look at the profile of the other person in the credit committee. Should they be there? Did they have the credentials to actually, do the fact checking and underwriting and risk management, whether credit should be given or not? So I think the key lesson is this: it's at the bank board's accountability also needs to be. I'm not talking about culpability, but the accountability. That's Reserve Bank of India goes for a fit and proper criteria for this, for the who would be on the bank board as directors. But I think we need to take a relook at them, and particularly when you give a person the mandate to run a bank, whether the person is an entrepreneur like Rana Kapoor or a professional like Chanda Kochhar. I think they need to undergo through intense tests, which is not psychometric test. Now people are talking about. Many of the agencies overseas in the financial sector, they're talking about that. So why not? I understand that Banks Bureau probably were doing this while picking up the prospective CEOs. I think when you are, it's your money, my money, public money, and trust is the key thing. So the person who is handling that, I think needs to, whether the person is an entrepreneur or a professional, needs to undergo a very, very, very intense test. Fit and proper, it's pretty vague at this point of time. So I think a single line, I would say, I'm not qualified to talk on this, but certainly the accountability of the board needs to be far better established in every case, and also RBI needs to take a close look at the fit and proper criteria for the selections of CEOs, and also comes to when you give a banking license.
Got that. Mr. Bhattacharya, your final views. What do you think needs to improve first? And I got your point on don't arrest unnecessarily. Doesn't make any sense.
That's all.
Other than that.
That is, my first point is don't arrest. Number 2, prosecute. Don't arrest, but prosecute and convict. These 3 are my bullet points. Without arresting, prosecution and conviction will show your highest efficiency. And of course, it is unexceptionable that every bank board should be made accountable, primarily to recover. You see, sanctioning of loan is the most important part of the whole thing.
Yeah.
Sanction, and this was a consortium advance. In a consortium advance, I think 40,000 crores were there. I think only 3,500, 2,050 crores were there.
Yeah.
So therefore, tighten the belts. But in this environment, if either Mr. Tamal Bandyopadhyay or I get an invitation to join any bank board as independent director, I've been declining flatly. Nobody will join. No person who cares about his reputation will join. Because if the sword is hanging, for every decision, if there is on beliefs, views, feelings, suspicions, surmises, conjectures, possibilities and speculations, at the drop of a hat, if you can be arrested after 10 years of sanction, you have gone home, you are basically retiring, and suddenly you get summons from the court. I mean, this is no way to run the banking industry. For running a banking industry, there has to be an element of trust on the bankers. Bankers trade in money. Trading in money. When you are trading in money, a part of the money will be lost.
Yeah.
It may be 1%, it may be 2%. In any trade. So why single out? And you have to trade. If you don't trade, then you might as well wind up your bank. So therefore, this policymakers have to understand this. Those who have been bestowed with the responsibility to trade in money, like if you are wearing a white pant and you are asking to walk in a muddy road, and so your pant should be absolutely clean, no mud should stick. Some mud will stick. So therefore, when you are trading in money, some money will go bad. Now you have to see the intention. Not an intention has to be, allegations of malafide has to be alleged and proved, and not imagined or imputed.
Yeah.
So my final conclusion is, let the banking industry work independently, professionally, be ruthless if anybody is delinquent, but reward them adequately. If they perform, because on the health and growth of banking industry depend India's economic growth is inextricably intertwined. If banking industry does not perform, India's growth story fails. Thank you.
All right. Thank you so much, Mr. Bhattacharya, and thank you so much, Tamal, for taking our time. And thank you so much for watching. Have a great day.
Thank you.